Okay, then I think we'll be starting off with the meeting. First of all, I think there's a newcomer named Balram Singh Chauhan. So Balram, would you mind giving a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello. Okay. So I am Balram Singh Chauhan, and I am a sophomore, and I'm currently undergraduate, and I am a UI/UX designer. I started my journey as a designer 4 months back, and I have secured 2 internships, and I also wanted to contribute more to it and learn more. So my friend Vinayak told me about that, and he introduced me here. So that's it, and I like to have a great experience here and learn a lot. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Welcome to the community. And so if you are with Vinayak, then you're in good hands. Like he will guide you throughout.
Yeah, he's a good friend too.
Yeah, nice. Lee wants to add some comments on it. Lee.
Yeah, no, Ballroom, nice to meet you. Great to have you on. Um, yeah, there's Sayatan is on today, and he's been doing some relevant work or some work relevant to UX design. So um, we should talk about that today as well.
Cool. So Santan, if you could add your topics. So I would request everyone, if you have any topics to discuss, you can add into the topics list in the website's meeting document, meeting minutes. So I've shared the link and into the chat. Okay, so by the time I'll ping Nikhil Sharma once.
Nice.
Okay, so till the time Nikhil Sharma joins, we'll have to shift his topics down, but we can discuss on the progress he has made. So he is working on the Meshri.io, the project website, and he has made some changes to the programs page, which looks like this, and we'll see a review as well. So by the time, so is Nikhil is not present here. So Lee, you want to talk about it? I saw you have commented on it. So
Yeah, yeah, well, first, I think I'm just pleased to see that Meshri.io is coming up for you. It's not coming up here. So I wonder
He's
if
actually
that.
using the deployed version. He's not.
Oh yeah, the preview. Okay.
okay, so
So yeah, so maybe so I guess we'll talk about this topic now, which is I just or just found out today that the site is down. It's not just the site; it's the Helm charts, the mailing lists, the other things that are associated with the domain. The domain, this one and smpspec.io were transferred to the Linux Foundation as part of donating the project to the CNCF. And we are supposed to retain administrative access to the domain, but we don't have that. And so I don't know what's going on with Meshri.io. But there's the DNS issue going on. And so I've opened up a trouble ticket with them and so in the meantime, it's very frustrating, but in the meantime, we can work on local copies. So this particular issue, so yeah, Nikhil Sharma is going to work on the /programs page, which is, like terribly ugly. The colors are just, conflict, they're just hideous. The white logos, first of all, the Windows logo is terrible, and so is the Community Bridge one. They just, like, the SVGs or whatever is being used are not, they're bad. There's that, but even at that, the white color isn't necessarily doing us any favors here, nor is the green colored card. So I can't remember who originally did this, but it's not working. And so Nikhil Sharma was doing, so Ballroom, this is a great example of a place where if you want to try out a new design, this is a great area to do it in. One way to fix the design is to, like, white out the background, make the background white, colorize, just get the original colorized logos and leave the green card. That's it. That would work. It wouldn't be really pretty. The logos and the cards would still be way too big, but so I think Nikhil had taken a shot at trying to correct this, and I don't know what he changed because it still looks just as bad.
Hello, Lee. I am Balram.
Yep. Hey, Mara.
Yeah, so I had made some changes in that program sections. So should I present that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, it's visible.
Yep. It only costs you $2 every time you ask that question, by the way. There's a community rule,
So
like, don't ask.
I tried to do two types of design. One is glass morphism, second is neuromorphism. So this is of glass morphism. Okay, somehow my text of this is disappeared, so avoid that. And rest is here. So this is first version I had made. And when scroll down, you can see subscribe area and that mailing list option. Also, you can join as developer or user. And how the user will know that you have to scroll down. So whenever it's here, 1 second. So it is given that you can scroll down to subscribe. It will just animate here, and when user will scroll down, he will go in this screen and he will do that thing. Secondly, I had done this neomorphism in this. So I have tried two types of different designs, and I think what are your feedbacks on it?
Yeah. Say the first two words that you said again. You said did one design that was this and one design that was that. I missed the two words that you used.
Okay, so whenever we are given to make a design of something, so it's expected from us to use two different approaches or two different things, two different designs we have to make on it. So this is a concept called in UI design, that is neomorphism, which means in 3D the cards are popped out, so you can see it here. This is called neomorphism. And in before one, I used glass morphism that Windows is using right now. In Windows 11, it's given there. So these are two types of designer projects I used for this. And I just wanted to have some feedback on it because designing is nothing without feedback and reiteration. So please give some.
Yeah, nice. Good. Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's a standing rule that you need to present only two designs. Like you can use more. One of the issues with using glass morphism is that it's not what the rest of the site is using. And so it might be a good design to use, although consistency is certainly at the core of good design. And so consistency across the site is something that we need to take account for. The notion that we would have to tell the user how to navigate, that probably just indicates that we have a bad design. If it's not intuitive, the fact that you would use the scroll wheel that you use on every other site, as you browse, like that's the thing that people's finger is on all the time, then we're then probably that's an indication that something's wrong. Sometimes it makes sense that you give an indicator, like a small animation on the arrow, like you're saying. The fact that we write out the directions that they have to scroll, it's like, ooh, that's brilliant. That means that the indicator itself isn't even telling them, indicating to them what to do. So one, the design is bad such that we have to indicate to them more so than normal that they have to do something. And then two, we have to give a label to the indicator to explain that even. And so I think I'm explaining it like this to you because you're explaining to me how UX works. And so, uh, so I think normally I probably wouldn't explain that to you. I'd just say, hey, we probably don't want the label. These designs they look much better than what is currently there. This is nice. The design that you're on currently is quite pretty. Like if you think about developer, quite pretty, except for the logos are, I think the images that you're having to work with are probably a bit pixelated, misshapen, and somewhat terrible. That's not
Yeah.
your issue.
So when I try to make this design, so this logos given here, so I just downloaded it from this official message site. So I thought that would I have to do, because I also tried to redesign some logos. Also, I redesigned Google Summer of Code and Google Summer of Docs. About 3 logos I have redesigned, but I thought these are the logos that you want me to put in that. So that's why I haven't redesigned the below two ones. And these are also the same one, not redesigned one.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, not your issue. Like, it turns out that I don't know that we can rely, or for sure we can't rely on the images that are on that page, which is
Yeah.
bad. Like, hey, they should be good images, but they're not. Like, particularly, it may very well be the case that the Google Summer of Code and the CNCF logo that they're both SVGs and they're both as good as they get. Like, they may be fine. The Google Summer of Docs, the Community Bridge, and the Windows, and the MLH logo. I keep on saying Windows, but MLH.
Yeah.
I don't know that are those all three. There's all three of those. There's something wrong about them, but part of but maybe that's lesser important. Like one of the things that you have going on here is if you go out of prototype mode and back to, I don't know, edit mode in Figma.
Yeah. 1 second. Yes, we are here.
Nice. Of the prototypes that were there before, or the mock-ups that were there before, can you pan over to them?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Where I have to pen?
Can you go to? So these mock-ups, by the way, these are on the style guide page.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't try to mess up the things. I just try to keep my things separate because it's my first time I'm doing something over
No,
here.
yeah, sure, totally. No, one thing though, if you go to the cover page,
Yes, sure.
there's
Yeah.
there's a small set of instructions here that so by the way, so Ballroom, this is thanks for this. This is a tough first call for you because you just joined. We just getting to talk, and it feels I think if I was in your shoes, it would feel like a lot of feedback to swallow, but it's coming from the best of places. So what you've done is good. Like good. This is perfect. Like, we're having a great conversation. One thing that it's a little bit hard in Figma. Like, I'm surprised Figma doesn't have better team collaboration conventions or like utilities built in. It's great for real-time collaboration because multiple people can be working on it and stuff. But in terms of like working through different versions of mockups, or how does one person know what the other person changed, or like, I'm surprised it doesn't have better tooling. And so we laid out a couple of conventions here about how we might try to asynchronously work and understand what's the approved design or what's in draft or who's working on what area. And it's, I think it's only through
Yeah.
convention.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so not that you're doing, anyway, as we take more steps forth, we might find that some of these conventions can be updated based on a different style of collaborating. But in the meantime, if you go to, there's a page, I think it's called site:/meshery.io, I think.
Yes, it's there.
Cool.
Wait.
All right. Cool. So, and Nikhil Sharma is on now as well. So that's great. So, okay. So we have the current version of the site is what we see on meshery.io, which is, down right now, but that's the current version if we can imagine it. There had been a UX
Yes.
designer that was here and had done the design that we're currently looking at, and it's,
Okay.
from my opinion, like, it's quite nice, and it's it might be an improvement upon what we currently have, although it's not absolutely clear that it's worth that it's a significant step forward, like, and so we didn't go forth and implement it for that reason, and for the reason that at the time it kind of looked a lot like Layer5.io, which we didn't want to make it. We wanted the project to stand unto its own. We wanted to make sure that it was clear and that it continues to be clear that the Layer5 community, that the people that are on this call, created this project because recognition is owed to all of you.
Yes.
And so we wanted to have enough ties that it was clear that this is a child of Layer5, but it's not Layer5 itself, like it's its own. So anyway, that's a little bit of the background. One really nice thing about this approach is, well, is black, is like dark mode type stuff, is things that develop, like largely it's like entirely engineers that this project is designed for. And so dark mode calls to engineers and generally.
Yeah, it invites.
So that's one nice thing about the designs that we have currently. I wish meshery.io was up so that we could see currently when you navigate to a secondary page, like to the /programs page, or, well, actually not currently on the /programs, but when you navigate to /community or /calendar, I think the background is white on most of the secondary pages, whereas the background on the landing page is this gradient from like dark
Yes.
gray, dark black, or whatever, to green. And so in staying in accordance, so part of the issue with I think the two designs that you have is that they use that beautiful black background that looks great here and looks great in your designs. The issue with using it immediately is, oh, actually that takes a restyling of the landing pages, of all the pages, because it changes the nav bar and stuff. And so that might be the right way to go. It's probably a little bit of a bigger step than I think what we were just sort of myopically trying to accomplish with just kind of fixing the programs cards. And so if you keep that in mind as you look at the two mockups that you have, the two designs that you have, if you use the current menu style and use that as you do the designs, you might end up with a different colored background. Like let's say that if you have the same menu bar, and then you have a white background, how does your design change, or does it continue to work just as well as it is now? So
Okay, so what I did was to this, this is navigation bar. So I just copied the component from there, and I just tried to make something different in that program cards. But one thing, I totally agree with you that consistency of the website, it will not be good if I use different style in every different pages. So okay, so I would keep that in mind and would redesign that also.
so so wait, we should have started with good job on the designs. Like this is great. This is perfect. Ballroom, like just having it's a big test kind of the first time that you show the designs here, because it sort of indicates whether or not we should spend a lot more time together, or maybe not spend that much more, because we've really tried to help a lot of people. Well, in a bunch of areas, we're able to help people more with coding than we are with UX. That's for a couple of reasons. I think one, because we do we do less UX here, much less than we should. We should do a lot more. But also because coding is more black and white, a little more black and white. It's still like tons of ways to write your code and stuff. But for UX, it's also sort of like, well, it's really hard. I don't know. I'm unequipped to be able to teach people what looks good, or like
Yeah.
how to, anyway, if you go back to your designs real quick, let's to talk about them just a little bit more, and then
Wait a second. Should I do it in this? Yeah, this one. This is better.
sure, yeah. They're both like they both have merit. Both the this style design and the other one. Like if you switch to your other like they are both equally of you could I think it would be hard to it would take better adjectives that I'm able to call to my tongue right now to articulate like why one is more pretty than the next. Like they're both pretty, like, and they're both like, from my perspective, like more or less of equal aesthetic value, aesthetic prettiness. But so then, okay, fine. Well, then, so which one should we lean into and try to, refine into something that should be implemented? It's like, okay, well, I think the question to ask is, or let me make this statement, and I think some certain stakes in the ground will help with like having a couple of rules around putting part of what we're doing into a box will help with what's possible and what's not. So for the moment, if we just say, okay, the current navigation bar, the current menu bar, if it stays the same, so if the coloring of it remains the same, when we put a stake there, we say, okay, well, that hasn't, okay, then how does that impact the rest of the site? Like, can we do a dark background like this immediately below the nav bar? I think you can. But that'll, as you bring in the current version of the nav bar, then you'll be able to see if you need to change anything or not. Okay, so good. The other thing about either this design or the other one is that they are significant, and I think particularly this is significant enough of a shift in design that we would probably want to give thought as to, okay, if we have this style cards here, how does that percolate through the rest of the other pages? And it doesn't have to in a big way. It's just, is it okay that this stands alone in terms of this page stands alone in terms of that design? And the answer might be yes, but it's worth reflecting for a moment, like, okay, do other aspects of this style, show anywhere else? And think those are the questions to ask. Like put a stake into the current nav bar. If that stays the same, does one of the two of these seem to fit better? There's something nice about having uniform logos, like all white or all with a white gray tone, or all with the two-toned green. It's nice about having them uniform because it's like it's not so much about them as individual programs as much as it's just about them as the collective. That Meshery, as an open source project, participates in a collection of programs. Here's the programs, and we're not necessarily highlighting one versus the next. It's just sort of, here's the collection, go look at the details of each. That's what's nice about using a uniform color. It might, if it's easy enough, if we have the assets, it might be worth looking at a design that has the logos colorized, and to see how distracting they are, or whether or not that they work.
Yes. One more thing I have to add, that is, when I went through this component section, so I found some abnormality here, because when I tap on this, one second. Yeah. So here width is in points. That is so that's not good when it comes to UX, because whenever if you're putting something in point, so when it comes to interaction, whole screen will be shaky. So I don't know how this happened. This might be a mistake here, or intentionally he have done it, but I don't know. So will you please look into that also?
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, it's a mistake, or it's not. There's something else that's confused here, and that is, oh wait, most of the pages in this Figma design file in this whole project, most of the pages are for Meshery UI, for the Meshery application and the user interface that it has. And so that's what these buttons are actually about, is Meshery's UI, and not about the site itself. That said, we can use the same components across the two of them. It's but bear in mind that there's kind of two interfaces that are being represented in the design file.
Yeah. So I also use a couple of them here, like in this one. Context. This types of button I have used. When it comes to subscribe one, yeah, I have used it here. And this also to change a bit of the size of the buttons and forms.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of.
Okay.
It seems a little. Seems a little
So
odd that
please,
the. Yeah, so we are missing. So I think we should look to make the changes that you're referring to in the components. Like we're missing a component library. We're missing a lot of design language. Both design language that's defined in Figma, as well as as well as that actually being adhered to in Meshery's UI. So there's just in Meshery UI itself, the thing needs an overhaul. Literally, I think all aspects need a revamp, and we don't have to do it all at once, and we're probably not necessarily going to be able to do it. I mean, having Nitish here and Nikhil here and Ebo and Anita and the whole having all of you here gives me hope that maybe we could accomplish that. And
yeah.
So one, I think you should, if you would, will you please make a few changes to those components to what you think that it should be, because we're not using them. Most of those are literally not components in Figma, so they're not being reused as components. So if you make a change, it's not like it's going to affect a bunch of other designs in Figma. And so ultimately, we didn't set out to have our own. I'm not trying to think of the right words, but we didn't set out to have our own design language or our own, like to reinvent Material UI, but largely just set out to reuse Material UI and change it in a few places where we think it suits us.
I will
Yeah,
try
so
to do something.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, good. I know I gave a lot of different points of feedback on the two designs, but
Mhm.
was that enough to give you some things to work with, to try out a couple more designs?
Yeah, it actually showed me the path, so which I have to do further designs and what the things I have to consider over it. Yeah, I will do that. I will also try more designs and also try to make some changes in components also.
Good. Yeah, this is good. Hey, I know we're taking a really long time on this, but I just very briefly would say that, hey, there's one thing that makes a lot of, like, at least today's designs quite nice, and I think design in general is sometimes, well, it depends on the style, but a lot of times things that are high contrast, generally contrast is good, and we're seeing good contrast here. We're also seeing that we're fairly clean, if you will, down in the subscribe area. Like we've got, in general, there's a fair bit, like on the left-hand side, there's lots of space. We've got large, big fields, arguably fields that might be too big, maybe. We've
Mhm.
got, I think, in terms of the heading, we could probably get away with just saying, stay meshy and subscribe, or just stay meshy. And then the fact that the button says subscribe, we would probably just say subscribe rather than subscribe meshy on the
Yes.
button. And at the top, it would
Mhm.
probably say stay meshy, or probably say stay meshy and subscribe. And so, but yeah, the
That would be
mailing,
better approach because 2 times it is repeated. That subscribe message.
the font size on the help us under the mailing list, help us in our projects, it might, I don't know, like it was one thing to use this very small font under the scroll to subscribe and stay meshy, because it was sort of like a small annotation, like, oh, hey, small set of instructions. But on the actual element itself, the actual mailing list and how we're describing the mailing list, it's probably, a larger font. Like we've got tons of white space there to use. And so we would probably, have those, that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
The buttons themselves are nice and clean. Like today they're using an off gray or some like charcoal gray. And it's, the color is fine, but it's not used well on the current site. So this is, there's something to be said about just the cleanliness of what we have, what's here. I think instead of join as, it's probably subscribe as, because it's probably not, I guess, you are saying help us in our projects by joining one of our mailing lists. And in that sense, like joining as can make sense. I think people will probably get it confused with, that they're joining the project, as opposed to just, subscribe, joining or subscribing to a mailing list, which is lesser of a commitment. And
One more thing I have to ask. Please help me with this. If you are putting your first name, last name, and your email and subscribe button, and this mailing list, so is there any difference between these two functions, or they are connected with each other?
no, that's a great question. And it's something that's important for you to understand so that you can so that you can try to present it to everyone else such that they intuitively understand as well. Because right now it's not necessary. So one is a one-way newsletter, like the subscribing to a newsletter. And so the word newsletter, it might even make sense to have that somewhere. It's also a community newsletter. So the word community, it might make sense to have that bubble up somewhere on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, this is more like, so the left-hand side is a general one-way set of announcements about things that are going on in the ecosystem and on service mesh technology, on Meshery itself. And then the right-hand side, these are two project-specific mailing lists that are meant to be, that are by and large meant to be interactive, that one of them is like, hey, if you're here contributing to the project, that you fall into the developer category. Or I'm sorry, that falls into the developer mailing list. If you're here using Meshery and you have questions about it or issues with it, or you want to know when the latest version of it is released, like that's more like what the user group is intended for.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question I have to ask. If you are, the subscribe Messery is doing same thing, providing information, providing newsletter, and some more information about Messery, what is going to do, what is not. And user option is also providing the same thing. The new version is coming or not, or something important or notification about. So are these both performing same operations, or there are some specific differences between them?
Yeah. You know what? We actually, to be frank, like all of them are highly underused. So I'm speaking not out of historical use of how we've used them, but I'm speaking out of how we intend to use them, which is that there would intentionally be some amount of overlap across them in terms of info that they would get. If you could, let's say that we made a release today and it's our 1.0 release. Well, if it's something super massive like that, all three mailers might get the same email that says like 1.0 is available. Let's say that it was more of a minor release. It's still, it's still important, but it's not a one-time, it's not a lifetime event. Like it's a, so the way that might manifest itself is that largely those that are on the developer mailing list they might be getting emails in advance of the release going out because they're the ones that are creating the release and making sure everything's all ready to go. And that when the release happens, a small, and Sayatan is going to show this, but a small release announcement email would go out to the user's mailing list. Like subsequently, at some point on the community mailing list, the Stay Meshy one, it would be like, there'd be an announcement, oh, hey, there's a new version of Meshery that's available. Also, there's an event that's coming up that we're speaking at, and so come visit us here and also check out our new release. Like it would be, that wouldn't be the only point of the email in that case.
Okay, I got that point. Last question I have to ask you. When working here and working as a community member here, so is there any deadlines sort of things while doing some projects? Or
Yeah, there it's, I gotta say, it's really hard to navigate that because there are some deadlines that we desire to have, and then depending upon who shows up and who sticks to their commitments, like we're able to achieve that. The further that we go along and the bigger the project is, the more confident we are in being able to say there will be a release on this date, or we will do these things by this date. So the more, some of you will communicate quite clearly, like, hey, I've got something just came up in my life. I'm having exams, or I'm going on vacation, or like, and hey, I won't be able to. And so we try to collectively as a community track that, who's available and who has shown that they deliver on their commitments, and we try to manage all that so that we can say things confidently, like, hey, this thing is the priority. Like generally we're able to at least say these things are in rank priority order and we'll give time to these things. And then that's easier to say because that's within our control. The delivery of them, it depends on who shows up. There's a number of people that are on the call right now who are like, it's very clear that they're dedicated to that like it's very meaningful, the work that they're doing, the things that they're learning. Like these people, that's why Josh is leading the call. Is like, I feel very poorly now because I've been talking for like 40-ish minutes or something. And the thing is like much of what we're talking about, as all of you all become familiar enough and get skilled enough, it's like you're not supposed to hear from me. Like the better that and I want for each of you to be really good. As a matter of fact, I want to hire a number of you. And because you'll be the individuals that are like, that know this and are doing it and have all of the background info for why a decision was made. And you'll be able to, that'll help guide you as you make further decisions. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, we try to be as organized as possible, but it's hard to.
Okay. Dedication plays an important role here. Okay, so I may now stop presenting and let the meeting continue.
Okay.
Little did you know you were going to be the star of the show, the first time joining. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Balram. Like there were nice designs and there was already so much of feedback, so I think we can move forward. And
Yeah,
to the next topic that we have is the, like, I guess the overall Meshi.io topics have been discussed together because the design changes would be like once again refactored and then Nikhil can work on them. So if anything apart from the programs page, Nikhil, if you want to add, then you can, like.
I guess features page, I think we need some designs. If you can navigate to the features page, because there are some responsive issues in the latest PR. I think I have fixed them, but I can think that the design can be a bit more, like correct designs. Features page. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Like the sub headings, like mesh, manage any service mesh. I think like we can change these a bit more, so it's more highlighting that this is the subheading and the life cycle and all these are main headings.
Yeah.
So I think Balram can also work on this, I guess.
Sure. One more item to Balram's list. Okay. So like if you get time from the programs page and you want to try something else, Balram, then you can just have a look into this page as well, but like do it as per your comfort. And yeah, so I will expect we get both of the pages ready by next meeting, but it's just, we just expect not to something very hard. So yeah, moving on to the next topic that is by Ayushman. If not, yeah, Ayushman is not present, so it is about the change in the terminal for the Meshery page, for the Learn NG page he's doing, and Nikhil has had some comments. So Nikhil, you want to talk about it? Nikhil and Nitish.
No.
Nikhil Ladda. If he's present. No, okay. So Nitish, you want to?
Yeah, actually, the terminal was not being responsive and I had tried several attempts, but there were still some issues left along with the terminal. Like right now, if you can see in the screenshot itself, there is that what awaits you section is actually it is supposed to be centered, and yeah, that is one issue. And apart from that, like from what I have seen, like the terminal part is right now responsive and it is functioning properly, I guess, in my opinion. But after that, Nikhil has actually suggested a review on that, so I didn't have a look at it. So from my point of view, the only thing that has to be changed in this case is that when you uh, reduce the screen size, the water wedge section that should actually be centered in the screen. So yeah,
Okay. So you are talking about mobile view.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I think there's not much to add on that topic from us as well, and we can move on. So I think you have already communicated it to Ayushman, and he'll make the changes.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Then we'll move on to the next topic by Sayantan, which is the email template for the mesh release announcement. So Sayantan, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I want to talk about it. Actually, so we are trying to make an email template on the machine release. Like every time the machine release, we will send this mail to the users, as Lee mentioned.
Okay, so like you have any something for preview, want to share screen?
Yes, I want to share my.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So like I think I just build it. This is actually built by drag and drop feature of this MailChimp. I just build this template using the drag and drop features of here. And I have also tried to make this, like me, Aditya, and Devjani has also tried to make a code on this. Like, if you want to see, actually, we have also made it through a code, email code. So actually, I think this was the template of after we made the. I need to open it. So actually, this was the template we built. But when we are trying to copy paste this exact code from here to the MailChimp, we are getting this problem like this one. So this is the exact copy paste of this code, but in MailChimp, we are getting this output. I think this is because of the fact that we are not using the MailChimp classes. Like over here, like in the previous one, here you can see there are actually some MailChimp classes they have used to just adjust all the this one to adjust all these blocks and on. But so that's why I think as we have built a HTML code directly, so I think we are facing this issue. So,
Good.
do you
Yeah.
want to give any feedback on this? Like, should we proceed with this drag and drop feature or should we code? And one more thing is that in this drag and drop feature, we also have this coding part also. Like, if we want to.
Yeah, if you want to put in your own, get really specific by editing the code, you can. And so that's great.
Yeah. We can also do coding over here also, but as this is actually maintaining the MailChimp classes, I think we can use this drag and drop feature to best fitting of this mail. I think it would look good for both for the desktop view and as well as the mobile view. Uh, both the things have the same good look. I think.
Nice. Yeah, good. Yeah, there's a couple of there's a couple of things. So just for reference for everyone else, we use a combination of Google Groups, mailing list, groups there, and Mailchimp to manage the newsletters, to manage the emails that go around. Historically, we haven't done a lot with email. As the projects are growing up and we're using them in different ways, we're creating more Google Groups. We're quite simply just missing a simple email template to let people know that there's a new release out and what was included in the release. the concept here is that this is an example of what Ballroom and I were talking about a minute ago, that there just needs to be, well, it's just an email template where we paste in release notes. So release notes get auto-generated every time that we merge a PR, and those same release notes get recreated on docs.meshery.io on the documentation site. And so these same release notes can be pasted into a mail template. And eventually this can be automated. If we have an HTML email template, we can use a GitHub action to send this out as well. So we can automate the drafting of release notes, the documentation of the release notes, and the notification of the release notes. But building out that initial template, the hope was this is a relatively simple design. It doesn't, it's not going to be, in the end, it may not even be hand curated. It may just be automatically generated. And so as such, it needs to be fairly succinct, fairly simple. A couple of items. So one, and Sayatan, this is kind of like the feedback for Ballroom. It was like, hey, the logo, the images that are being used, they have issues, and that's not Ballroom's issue yet until he's around here long enough, and then it'll be like, yeah, hey, you should fix the logos. So the same thing goes here, is that it's not necessarily obvious, but this particular logo, it has a shadow behind the Meshery icon, which in general, we should probably look to eliminate from our brand kit. So that's one statement. Another statement is the use of it here. It's hard to tell, but it cuts off the shadow on the bottom. And so in MailChimp, there should be other logos readily handy to use in place of this particular one. If you think about it, it might be nice. We're using the logo in the header and the footer. In the header, it might be nice if we use the logo that has the subtitle, or the tagline, multi-mesh manager. Whereas in the footer, it would be nice if we use a different logo, something else. So like that one there, except without the shadow. That way the two things are different. It doesn't look just kind of like a repeat of the same thing. In the social sharing icons, I think those are ours, right? Those are not the default MailChimp social icons, are they?
Yeah, I think those are the default. Actually, I changed this to LinkedIn, Twitter, and our YouTube and GitHub. I changed it.
Okay. In general, those are probably the right social icons or social links to have. The icon, these are pretty enough icons. I think that there's another version that doesn't look as great. Like in general, like we want it to look, we don't want to look like the same MailChimp template that everybody else sends out as part of the thing. I don't know that we need the horizontal divider between the logo and the icons, because really those social links are to Meshery, so we want them associated. It might be nice if we can change the wording where it's managing your email. Like, I don't know that people need two statements. Want to change how you receive these emails, manage your email preferences. It couldn't just be manage your email preferences instead of the question. Because probably the simpler, the better. It looks more legalistic, the more small print that you have. So the less, the better. The join, so good. We have a double, let me give you more specific feedback, maybe off the call. This is very close. And yeah, the hope is that using the WYSIWYG editor that they have, the drag and drop editor, that the hope is that the responsiveness, like the mobile view and the inbox view, hopefully that's the one thing that MailChimp is actually bringing, is taking care of all that extra crud. If you go to those views real quick, how are we doing? If you go to the mobile view. It's pretty good. go to the bottom. On the bottom, if you would, you could use the stacked logo, or on the top, either one, but it would be good if there were just two different versions of the logos. Cool. And then in the inbox.
Okay, so like you want to give this one like the footer will be one another logo, and this will be like a multi-service mesh logo.
Right. Moreover, there's horizontally placed logos with the icon and the name of the project next to it. There's also stacked logos with the icon on top and the name underneath. That would not only using the tagline in one of them.
I think I have the logo kit over here. Let me show you. I think this one. Like, can you see the whole logos part? So you want to use which one? Like,
yeah. Yep. Let me. I mean, the one of them with the tagline. So it would probably have the word text or tag in there. So like
this one.
Yep.
Okay. So I think this should be good if we place this in the header part, right?
Sure. The issue is that this picture, this image has green like in it. So you might need the version that is a transparent background.
Yeah. I will look into that for the transparent background.
Nice.
Okay. So okay, now
cool. The other thing that's actually material to tell you is that we're if you go back to, if we look at the content one more time, if you go back to the desktop view, there's a couple of things we want to always tell people is like, hey, click here for here's how we want to the call to action is to upgrade today, like, or upgrade to the new version. And so I don't know that the join our service mesh community is necessarily the right button. It might be like upgrade now, or I mean, something that doesn't sound salesy, but
like you want to add this like this way, like this is not formatted. I will format this, but you want to do this in this way.
That'd be great. Yeah, probably in place of the join the service mesh community.
Okay, like we don't need this button. Instead of this button, we will do this thing.
Yep.
Okay.
We might ask them to join the service mesh community, but let's first focus on getting the primary call to action correct, which is, upgrade. It's like there's a new release, upgrade, and then there's other things that we might want to tell people, which is like, have you checked out the latest? Like, ideally, like in a different email, we will ideally tell them about. We will hand curate it and tell them about certain features and have links to videos and that kind of a thing. So yeah, in this particular template, it's, like it or not, like it's fair, it'll be fairly bland. Like the only thing that will change between each time someone receives this email is just the release notes. Like that's it. And so whatever else we put in here needs to be timeless. So the upgrade instructions, those are timeless. It's just mesh CTL system upgrade. The link to that, we do need to have the link. I think that section that you were just showing that we had worked on, it does have a link to the docs, to the upgrade guide. So that's good.
Yeah, this one.
Cool. And that's about, at the moment, that's probably about it. There, we do in the social icons, we do probably want one for Slack, which is the service mesh community is in Slack. We probably also want one for Discuss, because that would be one of the first places hopefully people would go when they have an upgrade issue. They'd go to Discuss and start to ask there.
Okay, so like we need to add 2 more social links.
If you would. And when you do, like, the coloring of black is probably not what we want to have. So
Like this one, this IN written in black, you want to change it to other colors?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it would be good to explore something else.
Okay.
It doesn't fit well with.
And one more thing, like this two HRs are not required, like these horizontal lines are not required in the footer.
We probably, the bottom one is should probably stay. I don't know that that first one is necessary.
Okay, okay. I will.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that's enough feedback for uh, Sayantan. So like Sayantan, do you have any other doubts regarding this?
No, I think
Okay, so like it was like it's looking great. Thank you for having this thing. Uh, Maybe we can move on to the next topic if you yeah, thank you, Sayantan. So we'll move on to the next topic. Uh, we are already over time, but we can just ask for the update. So the layer 5 learning paths, Sunitish, can you just quickly talk about the updates on this topic?
Yep, sure. Like from my side, like I was gonna take care of the sidebar component that has to be completed, and there was actually a guy who was actually working on it, and he was pretty new to Gatsby, and he was learning stuff. So I was not able to get him to complete this by today. So I'll do one thing, like from by tomorrow. Like I have asked him about the status and progress of this thing, but he hasn't replied me yet. So I'll see if he's able to do it. Otherwise, I'll tackle it myself, and I'll do it as soon as possible within this week. Yeah. Uh,
Okay, we'll add it on the agenda item for the next meeting alongside.
yeah, definitely.
And
And for Nikhil's side, like he has been working on the migrating the linker D workshop and stuff. Like you can see the pull request that has many pull requests has been made.
uh, yeah. So I see the pull request for the linkerd service mesh using linkerd.
Yeah.
So okay, then this is for, I think this is up for review, so we can just uh, ask, we can, so anyone who is familiar with linkerd or meshry and wants to add upon review on the text or the anything else, you can just go upon and review, and which will help us to add the course to the learn layer 5 section. Okay, Lee, then this work is up to you, like the review part.
Okay.
Yeah. Next is the domain transfer to the, yeah, this is already discussed. We can move on to the last topic for today, that is the update for the area of focus dropdown by Debopriya. So is there any update you want to share, Debopriya?
I was supposed to make a couple of changes to the labels and the logo. I've done that, but I'm still struggling with the grouping thing. Like it's uh, not working out the way I want to. It's no, I've not put in a PR yet. I can share my screen to show you the logos.
uh,
Wait. So this is what I've done. I've changed the logos over here, and I've changed the labels, like the image hub had a hyphen. I removed all that, but I haven't been able to do the grouping according to the badges yet.
okay, by the way, the logos looks nice, like along with the text, so it looks great. We can so maybe you can complete it by the next week, or if you need any help, then you can ask on the channel itself.
Okay, I think I might need a little bit help because I thought I'll try to manipulate the existing drop down template and add the groups within it, but I haven't been able to do it. Been trying like this entire week. So
Okay.
I'll ask in the group today.
So Devapriya, here's a couple of, I just search, image search for categorized dropdown. Here's a couple of potential routes to go. One is to like not really have, like you'd have a section title like called badges and another one called status or role. And it's not intended to be selected. Rather, you would just have, so That's one way. Another way, it looks like they have a, oops, this one has more of a, this one's more complex. The simplest way of cheating, sort of cheating, if you will, to get there is to more or less do this. You could do it with the title of to describe the category, or sometimes you'll see like someone has just put a few hyphens, a few dashed lines that just act as a separator. And I think technically you can, a lot of times you can select that. You can either make the option unselectable, or if someone does select it, it doesn't do anything. But that's a way of quickly.
Yeah, it's like the disabled property can be done so that you cannot select that.
Okay, I can try doing that. So basically the badge, like the 3 categories, they will be disabled and all the list will be followed.
Yeah, exactly. So like with disabled, it would be like the color would change automatically either ways, or you might change it to a bit lighter or grayish of the text so that it can be distinguished. And yeah, that would be enough, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Indentation can be a friend as well. Can be helpful. So.
Okay, then I'll try to do it as soon as possible and I'll update it in the group.
Okay. Okay, then if anyone else has anything to discuss, then we have completed all the topics for today's meeting. So anyone else wants to say anything before we wrap up?
One thing, very briefly, is just to, it's hard to do this. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but I try to embarrass Tanuj occasionally. And anyway, Tanuj is on the Meshmate. Tanuj is back. He's on the call. Tanuj has been away at internship with Microsoft for a couple of months. And so they're all done with him, or he's all done with them. I'm not sure which way it is, but he's back to focus here, which is great. There's a project that Tanuj had most recently been focused on. It's a plugin for Meshery. It's called MeshMap. It's a visual topology, and it really needs Tanuj's help. So it's nice that he's back. Tanuj, and I mentioned it here because some of the rest of you might end up working on that, but Tanuj, on tomorrow's call for MeshMap, it would be really nice if the functions that you had last worked on work, because not your fault, but I think they've been mistreated in your absence, or that they've been not upkept, and so at least I don't think they work. So that's a great place to start.
Yeah, sure. I'll look into it today.
We'll have a welcome plan. I'll also join tomorrow.
Yeah, good.
Because I'm also thinking of shifting some focus there.
You won't hear any discouragement from me. I mean, yeah, no, that's great. There's, and then if anyone doesn't know what the project MeshMap is, I won't describe it because I have a terrible way of digressing into topics and going off for 20 minutes. But just ping Tanuj or Josh. They can give you a quick example of what the project is.
Yeah, like I was the first one to be offered this project.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Josh is also the first one to reject. He's like, maybe I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you guys for joining. Like it was nice call. We discussed a few things about UX that we didn't know exist. The 2 new terms we learned today, and many more things about MailChimp and all. So thank you guys for joining, and look to see you forward into next meetings and as well into the next Monday's meeting. So thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.